After years of cruising and getting to know so many incredible crew members, I thought I'd heard it all. But when I spoke with a few of them off the ship, I discovered things that truly left me speechless. From wild parties below deck to shocking passenger stories, these are the real untold secrets of what happens behind the scenes on a cruise ship. If you're ready to hear the jaw-dropping truths the cruise lines probably don't want you to know, stick around, you're not going to want to miss this. Hey y'all, I'm Evan with Family at Sea, where we help make every cruise unforgettable. Whether you're new here or a loyal subscriber, welcome. Today we're diving into some of the wildest behind-the-scenes stories from cruise ships you're ever going to hear. From secret crew parties to passengers trying stunts that didn't exactly go as planned, I've got some unbelievable tales for you. So if you're ready, I am. Let's go. Let's kick things off with a secret that happens in plain sight. While the crew might always seem like a well-oiled machine, the truth is there's a lot of drama happening behind the scenes. Living and working in such close quarters, often for months at a time, means tension can build fast. Friendships turn into feuds, relationships bloom and fall apart, and personal conflicts brew. But you'll never know it because the crew's top priority is making sure your cruise runs smoothly. Speaking of tight quarters, let's talk about where the crew actually lives. While you're lounging in your spacious room with a balcony, crew members are sleeping in tiny shared cabins, often with bunk beds and no windows. They get their own cafeterias and break rooms, but they're worlds away from the luxury you see on the upper decks. It's a whole different cruise experience below deck, and it gets even more intense. One former crew member shared that they had a cabin at one point located right by the ship's engine room, and the constant noise and vibration were so intense that they barely slept some nights. Meanwhile, upstairs, guests were enjoying quiet, ocean view balconies, completely unaware of the crew's struggles just below. But it's not all bad. Crew members do get some perks that passengers will never experience. Hidden lounges, off-limit restaurants, and crew-only parties are common, giving the crew a chance to blow off steam after long shifts. These little perks help keep morale up, especially on back-to-back cruises with little downtime. In fact, on some larger ships, crew members have access to full recreation areas with activities like pool tables, foosball, and even massage chairs. They can challenge each other to games, watch movies on communal TVs, or just relax far from the busy guest areas. It's a secret haven for crew to recharge while passengers remain completely unaware. Before we jump into the next secret, if you found any value in this or enjoyed the video so far, subscribing will make sure you don't miss future tips that could level up your cruise experience. And by liking the video, you're helping others find this content too. Now, let's get back to the story because it's one you definitely don't want to miss. Now for some of the wildest passenger stories. You wouldn't believe some of the things passengers do on a cruise that leave crew members absolutely speechless. From bizarre behavior like trying to sneak animals on board to passengers getting way too comfortable in public spaces, there's always a new story making the rounds among the crew. And trust me, once a story makes it to the crew's group chat, it'll live on forever. On one cruise, a passenger was discovered hiding in an unused conference room that was being used for storage, trying to extend their vacation. The plan was to avoid detection during disembarkation and then just stay on board. However, the ships have pretty strict protocols for disembarkation, and when they didn't scan out, they started a search and eventually found them. The passenger was fined and permanently banned from cruising with the line. Tipping is a big part of cruise culture, and while automatic gratuities ensure that crew members are fairly compensated, sometimes passengers take it a step further. You'd be surprised how much one tip can impact a crew member's experience on a cruise. And here's just one example of an encounter that left the entire crew talking. One passenger tipped their cabin steward $1,000 at the start of the trip with a note saying, "Let's see if you can make it worth it." The steward went above and beyond for the entire week, offering extra amenities and personalized service, and at the end of the cruise, the guest handed over another $1,000 and thanked the steward for providing an unforgettable experience. The entire crew was buzzing about the generosity as it was one of the largest tips anyone had ever seen. Ever wonder what happens if a crew member gets fired? Well, it's not as simple as handing over a pink slip. Cruise lines have strict procedures in place, and crew members are discreetly removed from their duties and flown back to their home country, sometimes without passengers even noticing. It's all about keeping things smooth for guests, even when things get messy behind the scenes. Take this story for example. A crew member thought they could avoid detection by meeting a passenger while the ship was in port. Thinking an off-ship encounter would be safe, they arranged to meet the passenger in secret, but they were spotted by another crew member and the security cameras confirmed it. Word quickly got back to the ship's officers, and as a result, the crew member was immediately removed from their duties, and by the next port they were flown home. It all happened quietly, and most passengers had no idea any of it took place. While passengers worry about sunburn and seasickness, the crew faces some hidden dangers you probably never even think about. From hazardous tasks in the engine room to security concerns in certain ports, the risks are very real. Some crew members are responsible for handling ship malfunctions or emergencies that passengers never even hear about. And in rough seas, they have to keep working no matter how high the waves get. Take this for example. One former crew member shared a story about a fire that broke out in the engine room during a cruise. Smoke started filling the lower decks, but the crew jumped into action immediately, sealing off the affected areas and putting out the fire before it could spread. Passengers remained unaware, enjoying their dinners and evening shows while the crew worked tirelessly to prevent what could have been a catastrophic situation. The fire was contained and only a handful of staff knew how close the ship had come to a full-blown emergency. Alright, let's lighten the mood a bit with one of the more interesting secrets. Crew parties. After guests are in bed, the crew sometimes throws their own private events below deck. These parties are a great way for crew members to unwind after a long shift, and believe it or not, they can get pretty wild. Imagine dancing, laughing, and celebrating while the passengers are sleeping soundly above. It's like a whole other world. But it's not just about dancing. One crew member shared that every few months, the staff gets together for a crew-only talent show in a secret lounge below deck. Crew members from all departments, entertainers, housekeeping, even engine room staff would show off hidden talents like stand-up comedy, juggling, or even magic tricks. The events are highly competitive, and the best performers are crowned crew champions. Passengers, of course, never knew that the people serving them by day were putting on quite the show for each other by night. Ever hear the captain or crew use a phrase you don't quite understand? Chances are it's part of a secret code. Cruise ships have a whole set of code words for different emergencies, everything from medical issues to security threats, and the reason? They don't want to cause panic among passengers. So next time you hear a strange announcement over the intercom, know that it might mean something more serious is happening behind the scenes. One former crew member shared a tragic story where a couple had been drinking heavily one night and got into a heated argument. In a moment of rage, one of them jumped overboard and the crew immediately triggered a code Oscar, which is the signal for a man overboard. They launched an extensive search operation, rescue boats and searchlights were deployed, and the ship circled back to scan the area for hours. Sadly, despite their best efforts, the passenger was never found. Yet the crew managed to keep the situation discreet, and most passengers had no idea that such a serious event had occurred, hearing only an announcement about an unexpected delay. Before we reveal the last secret, if you've enjoyed hearing these behind-the-scenes stories, subscribing is the easiest way to stay connected, and make sure you don't miss out on more eye-opening cruise content. Plus, hitting the like button shows me that these kind of videos are helpful to you, so I know to create more of them. Alright, let's wrap this up with a secret that might just surprise you the most. One of the juiciest secrets, what happens when a passenger gets banned from cruising? You might not know it, but it happens more often than you'd think. Whether it's due to repeated bad behavior or something more serious, some passengers find themselves blacklisted from a cruise line for good. And while the cruise line handles it quietly, word tends to spread among the crew fast. One former crew member shared a wild story about a passenger who was caught cheating at the blackjack table. The passenger had been using a concealed device to keep track of cards and tip the odds in their favor. Over the course of several nights, they racked up thousands of dollars in winnings, but the casino staff became suspicious after noticing the passenger's consistent luck. Security reviewed the footage, spotted the device, and immediately detained the passenger. Their winnings were confiscated and they were disembarked at the next port, permanently banned from the cruise line, and most likely blacklisted from other cruise lines as well. All while most passengers passengers had no idea anything had ever happened. Well, there you have it. Some of the wildest, craziest things most crew members will never tell you about life aboard a cruise ship. From secret parties to crew code words, it's clear there's so much more happening behind the scenes than meets the eye. If you have any of your own stories you've heard from crew members, let me know in the comments. And for now, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, may your seas be smooth and your horizons wide. Bon voyage!